My name is Jessica Wetzel, and I am the e-commerce manager at EnableMart. I want to thank you for joining us today for our webinar with Dr. King, Director of Claro Software. Dr. King is broadcasting today from Manchester, England, and will be walking us through how his software can benefit persons with low vision, students, professionals, people with dyslexia, and others by giving us an overview of functionalities we probably didn't even realize that this product has. We sincerely hope you can use this information to improve reading, writing, study skills, to provide computer access to persons with low vision, and to increase overall productivity in daily life. Before I turn the time over to Dr. King, I just wanted to review a few quick things about today's webinar. The first one is that we will not be taking audio questions, but would ask you to submit your questions via the question interface in GoToWebinar. The second thing is that Dr. King is planning to take up to 45 minutes for his presentation, and then after that we'll address the questions as they arise. And the third item I wanted to discuss is this webinar will be recorded, and a link to it will be posted on the enablemart.com website, and it will also be emailed to you for future playback. So those are the most common questions we get when we do webinars. But without further ado.
Hi, I'm Alasdair King. It's a pleasure to talk at least at you today. And I'm talking today about ClaroRead and its associated products. So you're here to do things and learn stuff, so I will get on. So ClaroRead is designed as primarily an access tool, so letting you get access to things and use speech. So imagine the scenario that I can see the screen okay usually. We'll talk about VI later. I can see the screen okay. I have some problem with reading and probably writing as well, something like dyslexia. I want to use the standard applications that everyone else uses. I want to use Adobe Reader for reading PDF. I want to use Microsoft Word for word processing. I don't want to be using some strange, different applications with pictures in that I don't feel so good about. But I have some problems with reading, so I've got this toolbar up here. This is the ClaroRead toolbar. There we go. And all I have to do is click somewhere in this Word document in Office, hit the play button.
High-quality voices are important for things like I shot my bow at the man as he began to bow. Heteronyms require context to pronounce.
And so it'll speak back with highlighting and a high-quality speech. And it'll speak anything I like.
Widely used to help with reading, writing, and more generally computer use and study.
Now the US version of ClaroRead ships with 5 different voices. That's the Tom voice. And you also have Samantha, it's a female voice.
Using high-quality speech to read back web pages, PDFs, Word documents, email, writing and proofing your work.
And you've also got 2 Spanish American accents. Have you? Don't worry about this big list. That's just because it's a demo machine. So if I go to this document.
Marco Aurelio Valerio Maximiano Herculeo, comúnmente conocido como Maximiano, fue César desde 285 y Augusto desde el 1 de abril de 286 del Imperio Romano hasta el 1 de mayo de 305. Compartió el cargo.
That's one. And a female.
Compartió el cargo de Augusto con Diocleciano, coemperador y emperador.
And you also get Moyo, is it? A Scottish accent.
They will never take our freedom.
Which is odd. That seems odd that I'm labouring on the voices. Now, why am I playing all these clips of voices? Indeed, over the phone, they may not sound so good either. On our website, you can find samples and download and test them out. The reason is that it's very important with assistive technology like ClaroRead that the end user has a voice that is acceptable to them. The big problem with kind of AT tools and these is that you might purchase them, you might get them onto somebody's machine, but they won't necessarily use them unless they're acceptable to the end user, especially with students, especially with younger people as well. It needs to be something that's fairly unobtrusive and doesn't have a stigma about it, to use brutal language. So choosing the right voice is very important. And we ship with these 5 voices and use other voices available on your system. And obviously you can change the speed of the voice if you want to, and change the characteristics of it. I won't go into those just now. What I'll show you is, Moira, go back to Tom. There we go.
ClaroRead is widely used to help with reading, writing, and more generally computer use and study.
Some people like focusing on a word at a time. The default is a sentence at a time because that's going to, we think, less cognitive overhead. It's less distracting to have words flashing at you. If you like a word at a time, you can have it on speech, word at a time. You can also have a background, which could be any color you want. There we go.
ClaroRead is widely used to help with reading, writing, and more generally computer use and study.
That pulls out a word really particularly clearly. And if somebody's very much a beginner reader, you can even put a pause in between the words as they're spoken.
ClaroRead is widely used to help with...
If you imagine you take that and you slow it down.
ClaroRead is widely used to...
You could really pick out a word at a time. But from a lot of students, that's going to be frustrating to listen to, and they're going to want to get on with things. Just want to get in the speech and get out again. So by default, it's by sentence. One nice thing, though, is word trail. It's kind of a compromise between a word at a time and a sentence at a time.
ClaroRead is widely used to help with reading, writing, and more generally computer use and study.
And finally, the last thing you can do is, let's do that way. Highlighting usually is about taking the word that's being spoken and making it really bright so it stands out. But then you've got a lot of stuff happening on the screen, which might be distracting to some people. So focus sentence, that option there.
ClaroRead is widely used to help with reading, writing, and more generally computer use and study. Using high-quality speech.
Focus sentence just takes the text that would be normally black and white, and grades it out a bit. So actually it's the text that's being spoken comes to the foreground because it's less hidden away. So the idea is that that's less difficult to read, and that it's more easy to look at. But again, coming back to what's acceptable, you really have to work with a particular student or work with your own settings if you're using it yourself to work out what's best for you. And by default, we do this by sentence.
ClaroRead is widely used.
That's great, and that's reading in Word document. Read Word document. I can read PowerPoint. I can read web PDF files. Do that. Right, obviously there. If I go to a PDF file, again, I can just click somewhere.
Welcome to the First Contact magazine of 2008. This is a very exciting...
There we go. It'll read us highlighting through PDF file.
One big event is our international conference, which takes place in Harrogate on March 27th to 29th. The full program has been published online.
Oh, mustn't think of that. There we go.
Org, and bookings are now open. You can find further information about the conference on...
So you see it's reading again with highlighting in PDF files. We'll read anything you like, textbooks or ebooks, any kind of format. And again, all you've got is the toolbar up here and Adobe Reader's normal application reading there. That's with highlighting. Web pages are slightly different. Because of the web page, you generally don't want to read from the top of the page. If you do, you'll be reading, in this case, BBC, sign in, news, sport, weather, iPad. You don't want to read all that. You want to read this particular section down here. So I'll go...
Pistorius officer on criminal charge.
You can point at things, it'll speak them.
Reporter behind Bodas story.
Or you can still click if you want to.
Leading the Oscar The police officer leading the Oscar Pistorius probe is facing 7 charges of attempted murder. Police confirm as the Bell hearing ends its third day. Oscar Pistorius' latest live reporter the Unboda story listen Nike suspend.
That's reading its way through the web page. So there's lots of ways, different ways to read things. And if you need to, you can always fall back to simply selecting some text.
Exciting year for the BTA. Javier Paulina.
And that works in pretty much anything. So you've got the ability to read Word documents with highlighting, PDF files, and selecting text gets you anything else. And you can also point and speak things in web pages. And that gives you access to pretty much all the text on your computer screen. So if you've got some kind of problem with reading, that gives you synthesized speech to let go of it. It's nice high-quality speech, so it's acceptable and good to listen to, and it means you can use a computer when previously you wouldn't be able to because the text is too much of a barrier. You can fix this setting here. Whoops.
Excited.
Speak under mouse. You see, by default it says, i.e. Firefox actually does Chrome and Opera the same way. Change that to all, speak under mouse all. And now speak everything you point at pretty much.
View. Edit. Microsoft Word 2010. 5 scanned and accessible economist.
Most things speak.
Recycle bin. Millings.
This seems in theory a good thing. You can make everything speak. Indeed, if you have got somebody who's got some sight or visual problems as opposed to reading problems, this can be really helpful. With this coupled with a little bit of screen magnification, you can use the screen magnifier built into Windows, for example, means you can point at things and hear them spoken back, or select things and speak them out. And that's good for a lot of people like my stepfather I set up with ClaroRead so he could just access the web pages, which are getting a bit too difficult for him to see as he got older. But primarily if you've got significant low vision or you're a screen reader user like Jaws, ClaroRead wouldn't necessarily be appropriate for you. But for a lot of people, they find that they still want to be able to use the screen and see it okay. They just need a bit of extra help, and that's where they're using Speak Everything Under the Mouse.
Review. References.
The reason it's not on for everybody by default, of course, is that it just chatters all the time.
Microsoft Word document. Spelling and grammar. Microsoft.
Every time you move your mouse around, it starts speaking something. That's too much for most people. Again, that would make it too intrusive, and you wouldn't be able to get on with what you wanted to do. You'd be constantly listening to all this speech popping out. And for most people, especially students, they want to be able to focus on the task at hand, use that window in front of them, and the toolbar when they want it. That's off by default. Cool. So we've talked about reading text on the screen. I've shown you everything to do with the highlighting options you've got there, and various things you can make speak otherwise. The various voices, speed control. That's good. Oh, the one other way to access text. Okay. So that's all text on the screen. That's fine. How do you get the text into the screen if it's in an inaccessible format, like, say, a piece of paper, a book or journal you've got to access, or it's an inaccessible PDF. So you've got a scan button here on the toolbar. Here's ClaroRead, scan button there. You've got a number of options. Scan from paper, normal USB type scanner plugs into your machine, and it'll scan in from that. Uses the OmniPage OCR engine, so it's very accurate, got a world-class scanning, and you can scan straight in from that, recognizes all text, and read it back. That was really important 10, 15 years ago. Now things are increasing in e-books, of course. If you get an e-book file in the format for PDF, that's just great, it reads in that. Also, if you're using some kind of, some of the Adobe DRM mechanisms, we're all registered with Adobe, so that if you open those e-books with protection in Adobe Reader, they'll still read that with highlighting in ClaroRead. That's all good. So you've got scanning from paper, that's fine. PDFs are fine. So you do sometimes get things which just won't scan, which won't read back with our technologies or anyone else's. These are called inaccessible PDF files, and this is one of them. So you can see it's a page of I've scanned it from a magazine, and I can read it okay on the screen. There it all is. But if I try and select some text in it, nothing. Can't select the text, can't get the text out. Because what this is, of course, is a scan. It's a picture of some text, not the actual text itself. So nothing can read that. You have to have an OCR process. And ClaroRead, of course, has the OCR engine, which you In old times, we used to use for paper, and now increasingly is useful for scanning actual files and making accessible versions. So I'm going to take my PDF file, scan in this, there you go. And I scanned in the page. And you can, if you want to, go and edit it and say which bits are going to be scanned in, which bits aren't. You can do things like changing the reading order, which is really important. If you're someone like an educator producing documents for, say, screen reader users, JAWS users, you want to make sure things like the reading order is correct. Make sure that each section reads in the order you want. You can set that all. But those are functions that most people don't use most of the time. What they just want to do is do this quick scan, looks good, save as. And I'm going to choose the Claro PDF format. We've got a temporary name. There we go. And this is taking that inaccessible image PDF and creating this, which looks just the same. It looks exactly the same. So it's picture perfect scan. If this is a paper scan in, which it is, it still looks exactly right. But now when I select text,
Off to be looking for, one concern is that the industry may have...
it'll speak, and I can click somewhere, like that, and I can press the play button.
What might the off be looking for? One concern is that the industry may have...
And then it'll speak it with highlighting through the document. So I made an inaccessible PDF file into an accessible PDF file. And I didn't have to know anything about really what that meant. I just had to run it through the OCR process. And in fact, if that's for you, you can use it yourself, or you can pass it on and create accessible formats for your classmates or people on your course. That's the scanning function. The other thing is, if you can scan in those kind of things, you can scan in text from the screen. I'll just take English text. Oops. So occasionally you get a situation where you have text on the screen which you need to be able to access, but for some reason you can't get at it. It's an image of text on a web page, for example, or it's something like Google Books, where you can't cut and paste the text off it, but you need to make a quote, take out a quotation for putting in an essay or something similar, or a slideshow in YouTube sometimes. For that you've got, or an inaccessible ebook, many examples. So for that you've got the third option here, scan from screen. And all that does is it takes, I'll press it now, it takes a picture of the screen, you get this little, hopefully you still see, this little cross there, and I can just select the text on the screen that I want to be able to speak. And it quickly just copies it straight into the clipboard. So I can get it all straight out like that, so I can now post that somewhere else.
Example of good TTS. HighQuality Voices are important.
Or I can just press play and get the text out. It's not perfect quality because OCR never is perfect, but it'll get you the access to the text which you couldn't otherwise get at. So that's really good. That's scanning from OCR. Out the other end, so I've got my text in the computer. I can read it back then. I can get access to it. But of course, if I'm away from the machine, I suddenly lose access to it. So I've got the Save button here. Save as audio will take the current Word document or piece of text in the clipboard, whatever, and save it as an audio file, a WAV file or a compressed WMA file or an OGG file. So you can put that on your put it on your iOS device or any kind of MP3 player on your phone. So that becomes portable then. You can take the, say, revision notes or something you've written up yourself and take that and carry it around with you, revise it later. You can also do the same thing and save it as an audio file. What it'll do then is it'll break down your document into sentences.
This is the first sentence. Here is the second, then the third.
Chosen a very dumb font there. We see that was a video playing from a Word document, which is then broken down with each sentence showing and the voice. So you get the, and that goes on a modern phone, which of course has a video player. So you then get the reinforcement of both the sentence and the speech at the same time. That's the saving out the other end. And you also send straight to iTunes. Because of course, if you create a lot of audio files from documents, you end up with lots of folders full of WAV files, which is quite hard to manage. If you say send to iTunes, you can put things straight into iTunes, organize them as albums and categories. So then when you plug in your iPhone or your iPad, all the media just transfers over it's all formatted. You can find your revision notes. So that's all in there as well. A couple of buttons here I'll show you quickly. Quick and easy to change the font size, change which font is used. Obviously, people find different fonts more readable. You also change the background color. Now, this actually changes the background color in all the applications on your machine. Usually it turns it off, but you can optionally do that. And this is nice because it's quite hard to do this in Windows 8. There is a way. You'll find that's a nice little extra bonus in ClaroRead. You can change the background color for Windows, which has long been a good tip for people, but it's quite hard to do on Windows 8. This is Windows 8 we're running on. A lot of people find it easy to read background like that. They have something like dyslexia. Now to change things like line spacing. The character spacing there is a nice one because the additional character spacing minimizes the effect of these rivers of white running up and down documents. And often people with print or reading problems find it very hard to read all the way across a line and then come back to the next one if there are big vertical white breaks in it. If I change the little cycle round, there we go. If it's close together like that, you might get breaks above each other. Can't see one necessarily, which make it hard to follow. So that one there might be a difficult gap to build, especially if the text is justified. You get these large breaks. But if I do increase the character spacing like that, that actually becomes much easier to read. Similarly, increasing the line spacing like that to create a larger vertical space between lines can make it really helpful. And these are just little things. And they're things you can do in Word anyway, but this just makes, these are quite nice little single-click or two-click actions which can make a document much easier to read. And of course, you could have scanned this document in from a paper file, from a book, from a PDF file into Word, and then done this adjustment so you can read it. So we talked all now about accessing and things. We talked largely about access. But of course, one of the main things you're going to want to create with text is your own text. So
you can hear your TXT. So you can hear back your own TXT.
Great, and that's useful because I've demonstrated there. It's sometimes easier to hear your own mistakes when you're proofreading by hearing it read back to you rather than trying to see them on the screen.
TX. Full stop. Text. So you can hear back your own text.
So you can use ClaroRead to echo back as you type and echo back, make sure everything's correct. You can also use it for spell checking. Now, of course, the spell checking word's good, but it's designed largely to correct typos. You know, one character wrong maybe at the most in your letter. So something like spelling, yeah, Word's good at that one. Word's not so good when you've got homophones like shoes. That's a word. You know, he shoos away the will o' the wisp. It's also another word, however, I like to wear shoes on my feet. This one's probably the word shoes, but of course Word can't know that. So ClaroRead comes with a nice homophone checking. So highlight homophones like this with a blue color there, and just click in it. Click this check button, and you get the different options, including pictures. And the whole thing speaks, of course.
Plural of shoe. One of a particular situation, footwear shaped to fit the foot below the ankle with the next shoes. Shoes.
There we go. You can go through and correct your homophones. I'm using shoes, but of course, it's a more common one that you'll see people get wrong. There you go.
There.
And of course, Word has no chance at all of getting things like teachers right. Well, it has no chance at all. Teachers, that's a plausible spelling of teachers if you know your English orthography, but it's not actually correct. and Word doesn't know really where to go with it. There aren't enough correct letters in it to be able to recognize what it might be. ClaroRead, of course. There you go, features. Great. So you've got a lot of support for spelling and homophone errors and writing your own text and proofing it back. And of course, you can check the whole document. You can check the whole document if you want to and step through every single homophone and every single error. But that's a lot of work for people. You've also got to pay off. You can produce perfect material if you have something like dyslexia. You can produce text that's absolutely perfect. Of course, it takes you a long time to go through and do all the proofing and all the checking. So the trade-off is we try and build it around the red underlines you have in Word and the homophone check to target the things which are quick and easy to check and to change, but don't take too long, because you've often got a limited amount of time. Your text production, your reading is probably a bit slower than some of your peers, so you need to be concentrating what's most efficient for you to get through in a simple format. So that's the main features of ClaroRead and how they're mainly useful. But it also comes with a number of little extras, which I'm just going to show you now reasonably quickly. So the first one's called Screen Ruler. So as I said before, some people find it very hard to read large blocks of text, especially doing the carriage return, the line end, and then correctly going on to the next line. This here gives you a reading toolbar like this, which follows the mouse. And you can, with ClaroRead running, you can also follow the
My bow at the man as he required context to my bow at the man as he began to bow. High quality voice example of good TTA.
So you could just use the cursor keys to move around the text, or you can just move the mouse on that. And it works over the top of everything. So whatever you're using, you've got this helpful reading line. That's good, helps to give you focus. Some people find they want, though, just an overlay like this. So all that does is it sits over the whole screen and gives you a tint to everything. So if I go to a web page, you can see that's all colored the same way. So everything gets that color. And for many people, most people, this makes no difference. For some people, though, just having a little bit of color to reduce the contrast between the black and white text is so common, suddenly makes it possible for them to read the text on the screen, whereas before they couldn't. And of course, being software, unlike a piece of actual film which you can get, you can change the color to whatever is suitable for you. And you change it during the day according to the light conditions or how fatigued your eyes are. And that can be, for some people, that could be an absolute lifesaver. They can do that. It's not necessarily the same kind of color model as having full from Erlen lens testing and getting appropriate sheets of color. But a lot of people find that really helpful to reduce contrast, make it easier to see. That's called Screen Ruler, and that comes with ClaroRead, built into ClaroRead. Just access it through extras here. You've also got this handy tool called Clara Capture. And Clara Capture is designed as a tool for helping you plan your essays and projects, which is a common thing for students to do. But of course, the problem is if you're trying to do something like that, you'll often go off down
template.
If you want text easily in Word, you do equals rand brackets brackets to get this. If you want to access, if you're trying to study and create some text for an essay, a lot of people find it very confusing. They'll go off in one direction, they'll collect lots of information about one topic, and then they'll end up with far too much stuff. It's all in this organized mess. They get really stressed, can't do the essay in time. Clara Capture is a simple study skills tool to try and help you out with that. So you can capture text from anywhere you like. So I'm just going to go to opened. You can select some text, and you can click on Capture. You can click on the Capture button or press the Shift F9 shortcut key. There you go, and it captures the text and where it came from. Works the same with web pages.
Product. ClaroRead.
There we go. And it's detecting the source, so I can go back to refer to it later, the text I got and where I got it from. You can even capture pictures. There we go. Or not. There we go. You can capture your pictures together and your text. Another really nice technique is, if you're something like Word, then you can, often you're taught, well, go through a document and highlight items either for or against the argument or the points in your essay, using different colors. I don't happen to be red-green colorblind, but when you've done that, you can go to Clara Capture, capture the highlighted text in Word, and it'll pull out those different sections and put them all together, referencing where they came from. So you can go through one single Word document with all its different arguments, identify them using coloring, going through and highlighting as you go. It's not having to worry about too much about the overall thread. Just go through and pick out what's important. And then Clara Capture will bring that all together for you to help you build your essay up. So I'm just going to save that. And now I can take that and I can send it off to a Word document. So I've taken all those bits of information I've pulled together, and now it generates a Word document from them. There you go. So it'll put in a bibliography for me and a table of contents at the beginning. And if I have the navigation on, you'll see it's all structured. So I can jump around it quickly and easily. And I can save that as a PDF, obviously, quickly and easily as well. But I'll do more than that. I'll save it off to Clara Ideas. Clara Ideas is the last tool I want to show you briefly. And it's our simple mind mapping tool. There we go. You can see I've got mind mapping there. I can adjust it, change color, put in a picture. Add images. Restructure things. There's the document laid out as it is. Move it around. I can shuffle it. So I can shuffle around my ideas. I can add more information to any particular item. Of course, Clara can read all that back.
Design the coordinate.
And I can take this whole thing again, having structured it here, send it off to some of that Microsoft Word, or indeed send it to PowerPoint. There we go. There's the thing I captured originally from Capture. I started pulling in bits of text. There it is when I thought about it and structured it appropriately. And then we've got slides for each section. There's all the bits I pulled out of Word and restructured and added to. So I can use that as a nice simple study field tool. Mind maps can often be really helpful for people for structuring their information. And you can build whole detail items like this, including recording your own audio notes on particular items, connecting it to web pages, and putting in pictures. You can also hide away parts of the map and then bring them out again so that you can try and hide away the whole thing because it's too complicated for you to cope with at once, and then work in its small parts. Finally, the really nice thing, which I like, again, if you've got something like dyslexia, impairment, one of the things that's problematic for you is often keeping organized and staying on track, as I said before when we were talking about capture and pulling in bits of text. So another way to do it is to use a mind mapping tool like this, but you don't want to be faffing about with strange links and creating all the objects and sizing them. What you want to do is just get on with it. So you've got a simple mechanism. This is going to be an essay about biology. Okay, so I'm going to use this auto-create here. And I'm I just have to type and press return, which is all I'm doing here. I don't have to play around with the mouse. So I've got animals, vegetables, fungi, which I probably misspelled, archaea, which I think are types of things. Oh gosh, mammals. Okay, animals really. So, but animals, I can put cats, dogs, apes, lungs, and so on. So I'm quickly jotting down my ideas, get them in some kind of structured format. Having done that, I can then categorize them using some Clara Capture features. This is a high-level thing. And that should really go from here. That's a bit better. That way. There we go. That's better. This is a high-level thing. Good. I've just become one, so I'm going to put that as an egg. And I can structure my information like that. So you can see I can quickly get ideas down using a graphical tool rather than having to cope with long linear documents which may not be appropriate for me if I've got some kind of print impairment. Final nice little thing to show you while you're here. Some of our customers and overseas partners like to adjust the toolbar just like this. So on the View tab here, and I like to take off most of the functions like that. You can create a nice little simple toolbar that just stays out the way and is always in the same place. Some people find that more helpful. I just want to show you that because sometimes people say, oh, you know, that toolbar is a bit big and it gets in the way and it's too obtrusive. Again, it comes back to acceptability and people being able to use, you know, what they find acceptable and what they're happy to use, what they're going to actually use. There's no point in software. No one uses it. The final thing is, if you right-click on the icon there, it'll hide the toolbar entirely. It'll still work. Here we go. I can press, for instance, the shortcut keys.
Introduction. ClaroRead is one.
And read it back, but it's all hidden away. And I can left-click to show it again. And people often find that handy for just kind of getting it out of the way and working on stuff and bringing it up when they want to, or just entirely hiding it away so you don't see it. One final thing to show you before I take a few questions. There's an option here for Echo Dragon Voice Input. If you're using the Dragon Naturally Speaking product, this is a nice tip. Of course, when you speak in, Dragon is perfect. It recognizes text and appears on the screen. You don't necessarily know if you've got something, some kind of print impairment, whether or not that text that's appeared on the screen is correct. It's certainly there, but is it right? If you check Echo Dragon Voice Input, it'll use your voice, your speed and volume settings, just as you like, and it'll echo back as soon as it's recognized. By speaking with Dragon, text appears on the screen, then ClaroRead will echo it back to me. So I get, I can use text-to-speech to proof what Dragon has recognized instantly without having to go back and check it later. And that's a great way to kind of get confidence in building up your use of Dragon Naturally Speaking, which is a great program, but it's got quite a steep learning curve because it's so powerful. So kind of helps with, from ClaroRead, are really useful. So that's got a good high-level executive detail of the main features. I'm just going to put these back on so we can talk about any things that people find. Oh, prediction. Okay. If you've got a problem with reading and writing, writing specifically, you've got a number of options. One is you can use speech recognition, something like Dragon Naturally Speaking. We've covered that. You can write the stuff anyway, and then use spell check to clean them up afterwards. And we've looked at some of the homophone checking and the spell checking you got in ClaroRead. The third thing you do, of course, is drop out of education or employment and stop using text, which sadly is what a lot of people do. The fourth thing we do, and this isn't so big in the US and the UK, but big in some of our other countries for interesting reasons, is word prediction. So, of course, ClaroRead comes with a large word prediction mechanism, step by side. C, I get words starting with C. I can scroll through them. There's about 100,000 word vocabulary. All the words beginning with C, and I can just select one.
Community.
So far, so good, and quite familiar. And I can change the prediction settings, so I can do only predict 4-letter words, or I can do show more prediction items, and I can change the background, of course, make that most visible for me, and choose a good font. Use comic. We love it. Here we go. And that's all good. I can do basic changes like that, so I can bring up things. Okay, so far so good. But ClaroRead also has some other nifty things. Of course, most people get the first letter of words right if they've got print impairment. First letter is usually reasonably easy to remember, and it's usually phonetically accurate. When it's wrong, when it's not correct, that is what people often spell wrongly. So people usually get the first letter of toast correct, but not say the first letter of right, because it starts with an R sound, even if I can't say one. So if I type R, I'll get written, for example, because that phonetically sounds the same, R, written, right, even though it's got a W.
Written.
Similarly, if I type N, I'll get known,
No.
knowledge.
Known. Node. Name.
Of course, I can just point at items in the prediction list to hear the right
Known. Number. North.
There you go. And I can hear them that way.
Side.
And the final nice thing is this little feature here. If I go to first and contains, this again is building on the fact that people know how to use the first letter, and then people usually get the first letter right, and then they'll know, shall we say, important letters elsewhere in the word. So for example, graduate, I might know it begins with a G, and then I know it's definitely got a D and a T in it, possibly because they're visually different and they stick up or down. It's usually very hard to get vowels correct in English because there's such differences in which vowel is used for the same sound, or the same vowel can mean different sounds. But I might certainly get the consonants, but not know where they sit. So if I do GDT, it will suggest
Graduate. Grandfather. Graduate.
graduate suggested. So that again is our phonetic prediction mechanism in ClaroRead, and that can be helpful for some people, often poorer spellers, who can recognize a word if it appears on the screen, but have some problems getting it down. And if they don't get it down accurately enough, of course, spell check won't be able to fix it for them afterwards. So if speech recognition isn't appropriate for someone, spell check doesn't work because the quality of their spelling isn't high enough for spell check to be able to process it and produce good results. Word prediction and phonetic word prediction, as you get in ClaroRead here, can be helpful for bridging that gap, letting them get some text down, even if there's, and just suggesting text even if they haven't typed anything.
From.
So you can get some text out even if...
His. Wife.
So you can get some suggestions. It gets you helps get you over that block of just not knowing what to type in the first place. That was the prediction. The last thing to show you, there's a little pop-up dictionary.
Diagrams. Create. When.
It's appearing down there. So if I get...
As soon as. At the same time that.
So I just hold down the control key of ClaroRead, point at something, and it'll speak it out, and then give you the dictionary. So just do that.
Galleries.
And I can point to the definition.
Spectators at a golf or tennis match. A porch along the outside of a building.
So it's handy to have a quick reference dictionary anytime you want just popping up.
Wife. A married woman, a man's partner in marriage.
There you go. Okay, right, that's a lot of ClaroRead for a short period of time. Have we any questions? I think if I drag this up here and then go to questions there and do that, is speech available in mapping tool? So you can So if you've got an item there, you can, and it has notes attached to it. So you can obviously read that back by selection.
It has notes attached to it.
I thought you could read, and I understood it would read the notes you point out. But no, it doesn't, I'm afraid. It will do next time I talk to developers. You could turn on the speech on the mouse here.
Animals, vegetables, fungi.
Then of course you get the problem with lots of things speaking.
Increase indentation, font color.
Which you may not want to. But you can sort of get the speech out that way. And if you have a particular item.
To change the style of an idea, Click on the idea and using...
You can speak it that way. I think the schedule for the next ClaroRead is reading with highlighting in that little box there. That will be nice.
To change the style of an idea, click on the idea.
There we go. Any other questions?
Dr. King, you have a few other questions there. I'm not sure if you were able to see them or
sorry.
not.
Sorry,
Read them off to you.
Where am I looking? Oh, are they in the chat?
They are in the questions. I'll just read them off to you. So the first, another one is, what
Okay.
low vision consumers are you targeting with this software?
We primarily...
Changing the style of
It's an interesting one. We never necessarily intended the software to be used for low vision users because it's quite a challenging market, what with Freedom Scientific's JAWS and Window Eyes and other products sitting there like 800-pound gorillas. What you find is it's useful for people who are never going to learn a whole load of keystrokes. They're not going to learn the necessary kind of key input controls to control a highly powered, very technically advanced screen reader. There also might be people who don't want to run a screen reader because obviously it's maintaining an off-screen model, and that's quite a challenging technical thing which can cause, quite naturally cause something to not work. What it might be for somebody is someone like my stepfather who uses it because he can turn on the speaker things you point out, and then he can go to web pages. Maybe he's using...
Oscar Pistorius' latest ClaroRead Pro.
Maybe he's using the Windows magnifier, which I'll just... He's going everything a bit bigger, but he doesn't want to have a really big magnification, so then he gets confused at where he is on the screen. He just wants everything a bit bigger, and he just wants to be able to
Partners.
hear a bit more about what he's pointing at.
Welcome to Claro Software USA. ClaroRead Pro V6.
So we get used by people who don't want to use it as their primary means of controlling the computer. They still want to use a mouse, but they need some help with the text because it's too hard to see, to read comfortably, so they'll use selection. They also sometimes use something like ClaroRead for reading in a PDF file. So you open Adobe Reader and you can press the play button, or you can press F7 and it'll start reading from the top. So it wasn't designed primarily as a VI tool, but we do have some VI users who like it for some kind of fairly simple functionality, and the fact it's got some nice voices, and the fact it's largely based around mouse usage. I hope that's... Is that fair enough? Is that clear? Hope.
Yeah. One other question is, can you change the menu size?
Menu size, would that be... So I've got view here, and I've got 2 different sizes like that. So I can do small, medium, large. I can take off the captions. That's the smallest. And some people like it just like that. It really just stays out of the way, and you never notice it until you want to call upon it. Press play.
Play.
That's what you can change.
Those were the questions that we received. Does anybody else have any other questions at this time?
Ah, there we are.
If not, at this time, or if you come up with something later, then you can always respond to our email. We're going to send you out an email shortly after the presentation containing the video, so you can rewatch the presentation, and you can always respond back and ask the questions at that time. We also promised, very informative, thank you, was a comment you just received, Dr. King. And at this time, we also promised you when you came to the webinar that we'd offer you a special promotion for attending. And we have our colleague, Ryan, who is a product manager here at EnableMart, and he's going to present that to you guys right now. And I'm going to switch the presenter over to Ryan to show his screen and how you guys can take advantage of the special promotion available. And Dr. King, looks like you are providing some information there. on how to get a hold of you?
I'll say thank you and goodbye then, if that's okay with you.
That's fine. Yeah, but did you want to share your information? I can just put that in the. Did you have some last-minute things you wanted to say to wrap up with the 15 or the? That's
good. I should probably plug the fact we have an iOS app called Claro Speak. Do you go buy it? It's about $5. Great value. And otherwise, thank you so much for your time. Thank you for organizing as well, Jessica and Ryan.
Absolutely. Well, thank you so much. You got great feedback, and we appreciate it. And I'm going to switch it over to Ryan, and he'll talk about let's see how we can get that product into some people's hands, which will be really good. So Ryan, I'm going to make you the presenter.
Okay, thank you, Jessica. All right, everyone. We really appreciate you joining us today and looking at the functionality and the benefit that ClaroRead Pro can provide. As a special thanks to those of you who have attended today's webinar, we are offering a free ClaroRead USB with your purchase of the Claro Pro software. The ClaroRead USB offers you a mobile version of the ClaroRead program that you can take with you and use on any computer. This is incredibly useful because when you think about the nature of most software, you realize that you can only use it on the computer it's installed on. With the ClaroRead USB, you have a mobile version that goes anywhere that you do. Just plug the USB into any computer and ClaroRead will launch and run from the USB drive. If you're at the library or visiting a family or friend, or if you're a student who travels to work with a tutor, you still have ClaroRead available to you. To get your free USB version of ClaroRead, simply visit our website at www.enablemart.com and purchase ClaroRead Pro. The USB version will automatically be included with your purchase. And I've got the website up here on the screen, if you can see that. We have two different versions of this available. We have the ClaroRead Pro, which is the single user version, $329, and the 5-user license also available, $1479. As you can see, the free gift with purchase is highlighted here, and it does indicate the free USB down below in the product description. So just by purchasing online, as we said, the free USB will be included with your shipment of the software. And I will turn the time back to Jessica.
Okay, well, that is our webinar for today. We appreciate you all, that you all took the time to attend, and look forward to offering future webinars for more products. So thanks again, and have a great day.